Here's the final touch.
My Mill, Emily, dumped garbage on the meals I had stayed up all night preparing for 20 guests from the neighborhood. I knew she didn't like me from the daily harassment, but this was just too much. I was so sad, I couldn't even speak.
Huh. This is what you get for wasting your time and effort on such nonsense. If you had spare time, you should have spent it on housework.
While seeing my sad face, Emily mocked me with satisfaction. As I watched her laugh, my sadness turned into anger.
Hey, is everything ready?
My Phil, John arrived, and when Mill Emily found out who the ruined food was intended for, Emily's face turned pale. My name is Amy, I'm 28, and I work in a small factory in a town. Because it's a small factory, the salary isn't high, and to save money, I live in a cheap apartment an hour and a half away by a car. It's a tough life, and honestly, it hasn't been the best. Working in a male-dominated workplace has made my personality more masculine, which doesn't help with finding relationships. But it seems like destiny had something in store for me. I met a man at a local bar who was also alone. We ended up talking with the bartender, and soon we started dating after meeting there frequently. Then he proposed me. I wanted to apologize to God for ever doubting his existence. However, I don't have much savings. And my husband, Michael, likes to go out with friends and often pays for them, having saved little himself. Michael isn't reckless with money. He values connections with people and knows where to spend money. I agree that treating friends is important. Therefore, he understands that now we need to save money for our marriage, and he even suggested we save up for our wedding fund. That suggestion was to live together at his parents' house. Living at my in-laws' house meant no rent, so we could save money. Their house is in the countryside, further from town, but it's a manageable hour-and-a-half commute, and I could ride with Michael to work. The plan was to take my time coming back by bus. However, living with the in-laws before marriage. Does this count as a common law marriage? Ideally, we should save up slowly, but I'm 28 and wanted to get married sooner. Despite my reservations, I moved in with them. My in-laws, John and Emily, were welcoming, which eased my worries. Michael's considerate nature must come from his parents. Moreover, he has been especially kind to me, as I am soon to become not just someone else, but a part of the family. But it turns out, my impression of Emily was wrong. After moving in, she became harsh towards me.
You're too late. What took you so long?
Sorry, work was busy.
Excuses won't do. Get dinner ready.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'll get ready right away. I'd come home tired from work, and she'd insist I cook dinner. Even though she was a stay-at-home wife and could have helped when I was late.
After all, you're living here for free. You should at least help out around the house.
She'd say, leaving me speechless. But it's not just preparing meals, making me do the cleaning and laundry, and then making me redo them over minor criticisms. Isn't that just bullying? As proof, Emily is nice to me when Michael or John is around. This might be a rural tradition, but it felt unfair. I hesitated to complain about her to Michael or John, fearing it would make me seem weak. So, I decided to put up with Emily's bullying for the time being. On a day when the harassment continued, As I was crossing the kitchen, it seemed Emily didn't notice me and muttered to herself,
Making this again. Trying to score brownie points, huh?
Hearing her mutter, I quietly backed out of the kitchen without her noticing. This confirmed that her treatment of me wasn't about tough love or discipline, but just plain harassment. What she was looking at in the kitchen was muffins I had made to distribute to our neighbors. Our home is in the countryside where there are few young people like Michael and me, but everyone is kind. Especially since there are few young women, I received a lot of kindness from our neighbors. As someone who's good at cooking, I often made sweets and side dishes as a thank you and distributed them around the neighborhood. Apparently, Emily didn't like that one bit. I heard later that she had come from another area and used to be doted upon by everyone around her, just like me. Seeing me getting the same attention from Michael, John, and neighbors must have made her feel like her privileges were being taken away. In other words, it was just jealousy. Well, having someone obviously in a weaker position in the house probably made her feel big. Even after confirming it was bullying, not wanting to be thought of as a coward by Emily, I didn't change my approach and continued to endure. However, taking advantage of my non-resistance and the fact that Michael was coming home late due to meetings as the festival approached, Emily's harassment escalated. Recently, my clothes were the only ones dropped on the floor from the dryer, and she claimed the entrance was dirty due to improperly cleaned up garbage. I've endured the harassment, but really, I didn't want to do extra work from her. It was a waste of time and energy, so I was starting to think it might be time to confront her. That's when John kindly spoke to me.
You've been here for a while now. How are things going with Emily?
It was okay until recently, but it's getting a bit tough.
Should I talk to Emily?
No, it's still manageable. I can't show weakness over something like this.
Don't overdo it. Let me know if anything happens.
It seems he sensed I was being bullied by Emily. But since I didn't ask for help, he respected my wishes and didn't delve deeper, nor did he tell Michael or confront Emily. However, since Emily didn't bully me in front of Michael or John, he started coming home earlier to replace Michael, trying to minimize the bullying. John became a protection for me silently. A dependable and manly presence. The sense of security when he's home is immense. Not just inside the house, but I owe him for my relationships outside too. I got along with the neighbors because he introduced me. Like Michael, he values connections with others, so he's happy to see me getting along with the neighbors.
Steph said she loved your sweets.
I'm glad she liked them. The sweets and side dishes I distributed as thanks were well received. And it's nice to be praised for my cooking.
Oh, that reminds me. Michael asked me to pass on a message.
What is it? This request from Michael would become a significant turning point in my relationship with Emily. One Saturday night, after making sure not to get scolded by Emily, I finished all the housework and began preparing side dishes for everyone to enjoy. This time for 20 people, I planned to make mac and cheese, mashed potato with gravy sauce, pizza, and pulled pork. I did the prep work the night before so I could cook everything first thing in the morning. But it was my first time preparing for so many people, and the prep took longer than expected, almost all night. I was so focused on the work that I didn't notice Emily watching me work through the night. If I had noticed her presence, perhaps the following tragedy could have been avoided. After a short nap in the morning, I started finishing up the prepared dishes one after another, packing each serving into boxes. I managed to finish just in time, despite the tight schedule. Looking at the boxes of food stacked in 4 rows of 5, I felt a sense of accomplishment. Though the all-nighter was tough, imagining everyone's happy faces made it all worthwhile. As I was feeling satisfied with my work, the delivery person arrived, so I went to the front door. That's when Emily entered the kitchen. When I returned to the kitchen, I found Emily had laid out the boxes, which had been stacked in 5s flat across the table with all their lids open. "What are you doing, Emily?"
I thought I'd help with the final touch.
"What?" I had a bad feeling about Emily's words. Sure enough, she dumped garbage on the food I had arranged. "What the heck are you doing?" I was shocked to see the meals I had made all night, imagining the happy faces of everyone, ruined in an instant.
I told you it's my final touch. Now it's perfect, isn't it? Why don't you take it to the neighbors now?
No one can eat this. I was on the verge of tears, so I could only look at the food covered in garbage, with a sad expression.
So what? This is what you get for wasting your time and effort on such things. If you had spare time, you should have spent it on housework.
Seeing my sad face, Emily mocked me with satisfaction. I knew she didn't like me, but this was too much. As I watched her laugh, my sadness turned into anger.
Hey, is everything ready?
That's when John arrived.
Hey, what's this? Could it be?
The finished meals were supposed to be taken by John. But the situation was a mess. I wondered how to apologize to John, Michael, and everyone else.
Look at this. She spent so much time and effort making all this food for others, not to mention the cost of the ingredients. What was she thinking? That's why I decided to teach her a lesson.
So, you're saying you did this, right?
Yes, this should make her spend more time on housework.
With every word from Emily, my anger grew. Usually, I just distribute food on my own. But this time, there were people looking forward to it. This was supposed to be for Michael's place.
Michael. He is.
Yes, this was for the gathering at today's festival.
What?
Amy's cooking is well regarded and famous around here. Everyone wanted to try it. Michael was bragging about it to everyone. He asked her to make it especially for today's gathering.
These meals.
The local area takes festivals very seriously, and during the festival season, the men gather daily after work. It seems all they do is drink and enjoy a meal, but this is considered very important. I don't fully understand, but it must be some tradition or rule. Today was Sunday, and they were gathering early, so John was supposed to take the meals to them. Knowing who the food was meant for, Emily's face turned pale. Michael, his dad, and the local men who were gathering now hate injustice, just like this situation. For such people, Emily wasted the meals I had prepared. Ruining the meals, bullying me, tarnishing Michael's reputation by not having the meals ready, and disappointing everyone looking forward to the meals she ruined. Emily's actions were so many senseless deeds. Would the men forgive her? I could only imagine Michael and his friends' fury. Seeing Emily's panic, I even thought we might have to leave the area. Did you know that everyone was looking forward to these meals?
I didn't know those were for the gathering.
If those weren't for the gathering, you think it's okay to ruin the meals with garbage. It doesn't make sense at all. Now, no one can eat it. I was more frustrated about letting down everyone looking forward to the meal than having my food ruined. As Emily and I were talking, John calmly took out his phone.
Hey, come back home now. I know you're with everyone. But there's something important you have to come back for. I've called Michael back. Let's explain everything.
Wait, please don't do that. I can fix the food.
John intended to tell Michael everything, from the ruined food to the bullying I had endured. I had wished to keep the bullying to myself, so John had respected my wishes and kept a watchful eye without intervening. But this situation could no longer be overlooked. If Michael saw of this, it would spread to the men at the festival and likely throughout the community. Then, Emily would become an outcast in the community. Knowing this fact could end her life as she knew it, Emily began to panic even more. But it was too late for regrets. About 10 minutes later, Michael rushed back home upon receiving John's call. Seeing the kitchen filled with garbage-covered food, he was stunned.
What's going on here? Why are the meals like this?
She did it.
With just one sentence from John, Michael grasped the general situation. Emily's panic seemed to have reached its peak after Michael was informed about her ruining my cooking.
I didn't know it was for the gathering.
That's not the point.
The situation was somewhat comical. Emily was clearly panicking, making the same excuse to Michael. But her expression was noticeably more frightened than before.
Yay, you right. But I mean, it's not that,
What's going on, Dad?
Frustrated with Emily's loss for words, Michael asked for an explanation from John.
Recently, you've been coming home late, so you might not have noticed. But she's been bullying your wife. She even came crying to me earlier, begging me not to tell you.
I haven't been bullying her. I just got a bit carried away this time.
You're not getting away with this. I know what you've been doing. I didn't say anything before, because she asked me not to. But I can't stand it anymore. You have been bullying her.
John shouted at Emily, trying to make excuses. Even I was intimidated by his forcefulness. He's usually so kind, but I didn't know he was so scary when angry. Is this how all the men are in this area? Imagining Emily's future is a bit frightening.
Is what Dad said true?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kept quiet. I thought I had to endure it.
It seems to be true then.
Michael didn't yell like John, but I could feel his quiet anger. It was a different kind of pressure. Michael silently glared at Emily, a silent demand for her to explain.
It's not really bullying. I was just teaching her about housework. Maybe I was a bit too strict. I'll be more careful from now on.
What were you trying to teach me by dirtying my clothes and making me clean up garbage you scattered in the entrance?
You did all that. What a hopeless case. So, Mom, what were you trying to teach with that?
Well, it's good to have some tough experiences, right? You know, young people these days give up too easily. I was just checking if she could really handle being a wife.
That's what bullying is.
Emily, trying to make excuse after excuse. ultimately admitted to bullying in her own words. Michael, John, and I were beyond anger, just utterly dismayed.
All right, that settles it. You need to leave the house now.
Wait, you can't just tell me to leave all of a sudden.
It's your fault, Mom. I'll pack your bags for you, but you need to find somewhere else to live for now.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Kicking me out is too harsh.
Shouldn't you be apologizing to someone else? Not me or Dad, right?
Prompted by Michael, Emily quickly turned to me, apologizing.
I'm so sorry for everything. Please forgive me.
My words could change Emily's life significantly. Considering all I've endured from her, this moment feels incredibly satisfying. But should I, as her son's wife and her husband's daughter-in-law, be the one to decide her fate? Torn, I looked at Michael and John. Seeing their expressions telling me to do as I please, I made my decision. I cooked with all my heart. You can compensate for the food, but you can't compensate for the heart put into it. You also trampled on the hearts of those looking forward to it. I cannot forgive you for that.
It's decided then.
Hearing my words, John grabbed Emily's arm, dragged her to the entrance, and threw her out of the house.
Let us know when you find a place. We'll send your things.
The decision and action were swift. Perhaps this is in the tradition of this area's men. In a moment, Emily was out of the house, left alone. This explains the abnormal panic and childlike excuses lined up by Emily. After that, she really was kicked out of the house and moved into a cheap apartment near where I used to live. Given the terrible things she did to me, I don't feel guilty. John is considering divorce. Despite the awful things she did, I wondered if divorce was really necessary. However, John hates anything that doesn't make sense. So this incident with Emily must have been unforgivable for him. Emily had hit a nerve with him that she should never have touched. Since it was impossible to redo the cooking in time, we decided to order takeout for the gathering. When I went to the gathering to apologize, everyone forgave me with a smile. Michael ended up sharing the story about Emily, and as expected, her bad reputation spread throughout the area, making it unlikely she could return home for a while. I suspect John will indeed divorce. We don't plan to have any dealings with Emily moving forward, so she'll have to manage on her own. Michael and I continue our life at his parents' home, and we're close to reaching our savings goal for our wedding. I'm excitedly awaiting the moment I can officially become Michael's wife.